All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah, glad to be back.
This time we are diving into Chinese mythology.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. We're going to be talking about the Tuolong.
The too long? Okay.
Yeah, have you heard about this guy?
I haven't. No, fill me in.
So he's this fearsome creature.
Yeah.
He's the ninth son of the Jing River Dragon King.
Okay, so we're talking royalty here.
Right, like a prince of the river.
Got it.
But he's not your typical prince. I'll tell you that.
Okay, how so?
Well, first of all, he's got this reputation for causing chaos.
Sounds like a real troublemaker.
Yeah, and he's got this interesting look about him too, almost like a giant alligator, but with some serious dragon features.
Okay, so not your classic fire-breathing, elegant dragon.
No, not at all. This guy's more like all about power and aggression.
I'm starting to get the picture.
So in this deep dive, we're really going to try and uncover the different tales of the Tuolong's mischief.
All right, so we're getting into the nitty-gritty of his story.
Exactly. Like, how did he earn this bad boy reputation and what ultimately happened to him? Because, like, with a lot of figures in mythology, there's actually quite a few different versions of his fate.
That's always fascinating how these stories evolve over time.
Right. So buckle up. This one's a wild ride.
I'm ready. Let's dive in.
All right. So one of the things that makes the Tuolong so interesting is he's not content with just ruling his river kingdom.
That's right. He's got bigger ambitions.
Exactly. He's got this rebellious streak and he craves power. So what does he do? He decides to shapeshift into a human.
Bold move.
Oh, yeah. And then he uses this disguise to wreak havoc on land.
So he's not just a water threat, he's a land threat, too.
Exactly. He's a double whammy of trouble.
I see a pattern emerging here.
What do you mean?
Well, this blurring of boundaries between the natural and human world.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
It's a theme that pops up in mythologies all over the world.
It's true. You've got your werewolves and vampires and all sorts of creatures that straddle those two realms.
Exactly, and it makes you wonder why these stories resonate so deeply across cultures.
Maybe it's because they tap into our primal fears about the unknown or the forces we can't control.
Or maybe it's because they offer a way to explain the unexplainable, those things in nature that seem powerful and unpredictable.
That's a great point. And the Tuolong definitely embodies that unpredictability. He's this force of nature that just can't be contained.
And it's not just his shape-shifting that makes him dangerous. There's this one story that really paints a chilling picture of his ruthlessness.
You're talking about the drought, aren't you?
Exactly, the one where he uses his control over water to basically hold a whole community hostage.
It's a pretty dark tale.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a severe drought. You're desperate for water, and then this powerful creature shows up and says he'll only give you rain if you make a sacrifice.
Human sacrifice.
Exactly. Talk about a tough choice.
It's a stark reminder of the power that water deities held in ancient cultures. People were completely dependent on rain for their crops, their livestock, their very survival.
So in a way, it makes sense that they would go to extreme lengths to appease these deities.
Right, they would offer gifts, prayers, and yes, sometimes even sacrifices in hopes of ensuring a good harvest and avoiding famine.
It's a far cry from how we view the natural world today.
It really is, but it highlights just how much our relationship with nature has evolved over time.
Okay, so we've got this powerful, destructive creature terrorizing the land. What happens next?
Well, the Tuolong can't keep getting away with this forever.
Of course not. Eventually, his actions catch the attention of someone pretty important.
Someone with even more power.
You got it, the Jade Emperor himself.
Now we're talking about the big leagues.
Right, the Jade Emperor, he's like the head honcho of the celestial court. Think of him as the supreme god in Chinese mythology.
And he's not someone you want to mess with?
Nope, he's got a whole army of heavenly soldiers at his command. And they're tasked with bringing the Tuolong to justice.
Sounds like a recipe for an epic showdown.
Oh, you better believe it. But there's a twist. Even the Jade Emperor's best warriors can't quite handle the Tuolong. He's just too powerful, too cunning, so they have to call in some reinforcements.
Yeah, not just any reinforcements.
They call in the legend himself, the Monkey King.
Now this is where the story gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody knows the Monkey King from Journey to the West.
He's a trickster god, a superhero, a total icon in Chinese culture.
And he's got this magical staff and superhuman strength. I mean, he's basically the ultimate weapon.
Talk about bringing in the big guns.
Right. It's like calling in the Avengers to deal with a particularly nasty villain.
And it's a perfect example of how Chinese mythology often blends these larger-than-life characters with really human dilemmas.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating about this showdown is that the Monkey King doesn't just overpower the Tuolong.
He outsmarts him.
Exactly. He uses his wit and his magic to outmaneuver this creature who's all about brute force.
And that's a recurring theme in a lot of these stories, isn't it?
It is the idea that intelligence and strategy can triumph over sheer power.
It's like a classic underdog story.
Totally. And it's a message that resonates even today.
Absolutely. It reminds us that sometimes the most effective solution isn't the most obvious or the most forceful one.
It's about thinking outside the box, being creative, and finding those unexpected paths to victory.
Just like the Monkey King did.
Oh, okay, so the Monkey King subdues the two-along. What happens to our villain?
Well, that's where things get a little murky.
Neither.
There are actually a few different versions of what happens next.
Oh, really? Like alternate endings?
Exactly. And they offer some pretty contrasting views on justice and redemption.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, in some versions, the Tulong gets his comeuppance. He's punished by the Jade Emperor for his crimes. Maybe imprisoned in a thunder prison or forced to endure some other form of celestial punishment.
So it's a classic case of crime and punishment.
Exactly. The universe restores balance by holding the wrongdoer accountable.
Makes sense, but you said there are other versions.
There are, and in some of those, the Tuolong finds redemption.
Redemption, you mean like he turns over a new leaf?
Well, not exactly, but he does get a chance to maybe change his ways
Oh, so.
through the intervention of the goddess Guanyin.
Guanyin, she's a bodhisattva, right?
She is a being who's achieved enlightenment but chooses to stick around and help others.
A real beacon of compassion and mercy.
Exactly. And in these versions of the story, she sees something in the Tulong, maybe a flicker of good or potential for change.
So she advocates for him.
In a way, yes. She offers him a chance to atone for his actions, maybe even become a protector of the waters instead of a destroyer.
That's an interesting twist.
It is, and it highlights how Chinese mythology often grapples with these complex questions of punishment versus forgiveness, justice versus mercy.
It's like it's reflecting the different ways that humans deal with wrongdoing in their own societies.
Right. Some cultures lean more towards retribution, while others prioritize rehabilitation.
And it's fascinating how those different values play out in these stories.
Absolutely. It makes you think which version of the Tuolong's fate sits best with you.
Right. Which one feels most satisfying or just...
And what does that say about your own worldview?
It's like a mirror reflecting our own beliefs about right and wrong.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are some versions of the story where the Tuolong doesn't get off so easy.
You mean?
Yeah, in some tales, he meets a pretty gruesome end. He might be slain in battle with the Monkey King, or maybe he's struck down by a bolt of lightning from the heavens.
Wow, talk about a dramatic exit.
It is, but it's a reminder that actions have consequences, and sometimes those consequences can be pretty severe.
It's like a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power and ambition.
Right. A warning to stay humble and remember that even the mightiest can fall.
It's incredible how this one story can contain so many different layers of meaning.
It really is. It's a testament to the power of myth, to explore these timeless questions about good and evil fate and free will.
And it's fascinating to see how those themes are woven together with these larger-than-life characters and epic battles.
It makes for one heck of a story.
It does. And that's what makes the Tulong's tale so compelling even thousands of years later.
So we've got this blend of adventure, morality, cultural insight.
It's all there, and it leaves you with a lot to think about.
For sure. So to everyone listening out there, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, what do you think about the Tulong's story?
Which version of his fate resonates most with you?
And how might this ancient tale be reinterpreted for a modern audience?
Could he be a symbol of environmental destruction or the dangers of unchecked power?
Or maybe something else entirely?
There are so many possibilities.
So let us know your thoughts. We always love to hear from you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Chinese mythology.
It's been a wild ride.
Until next time,
Keep exploring
and keep asking questions.
and keep diving deep.
See you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.